Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and this is the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast, the music podcast on where I interview singers and musicians from genres of black music: gospel, jazz, blues, old school classic soul, old school hip hop, today's hip hop and R&B, Caribbean, Latin, Afrobeat, Afro-Latina, blue-eyed soul, disco, go-go, line dances, and the Lost 45s. So come with me as I take you on to a trip to the destination genre of black music right now on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Legal Shield is a proud sponsor of the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Have you been involved in any types of accidents? Have you been a victim of identity theft? Have you been a victim of a computer fraud scam? Have you been in disputes with your tenants or landlords? If your loved one dies and they didn't write up a will for you or for your family, or you and your spouse are filing for divorce, or if you need help by opening up your small business, give Legal Shield a try. Visit their website at LegalShield.com and tell them you heard it here on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Do it today. You'll be glad you did. Welcome to the Black Soul Music Experience. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and I have a special guest on my show, and it's a CBS reunion. And this lady that I'm about to introduce is my friend and colleague, my former CBS coworker who once worked in the marketing communications department at 51 West 52nd Street, Black Rock headquarters for many years. Today, she and her husband are the creator and host of the new podcast called the Content Chaos Podcast. It's a weekly podcast for meaningful conversation about modern day life. So please help me welcome to the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, my friend and colleague, my former CBS colleague. She is a mother and married to George, and she still looks good at the ripe old age of 50. Her name is Colleen Kenny. Hi, Colleen. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. It's so nice to reconnect with you after all this time and just be a part of this creative work that you're doing. It's exciting.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Since we're no longer working at CBS, we'll talk about that a little bit later on.
Sure.
But it's a pleasure to have you here on my show. I said, I got to reach out to some of my CBS folks who been in radio. CBS had radio before it was sold, and then CBS had records before it too was sold. But I didn't become a CBS employee until July 31st, 1989.
Oh, wow.
And records was still in the building before records moved out of the building in November of 1992. So we're going to have a wonderful conversation. So it's a pleasure to have you here. So let us
Likewise.
begin, shall we?
We shall. Let's do it.
All righty. Now, where were you born?
I was born in the tri-state area. I was born in Hillsdale, New Jersey, which is about 20 miles outside of New York City, and it's in Bergen County, New Jersey.
Okay. Is it right off of Route 22?
No, that's Route 22 is closer to where I live now, which is the town of New Providence. That's more central New Jersey. But Hillsdale is the town where just very lame, small claim to fames. David Remnick, who is the editor-in-chief of the New Yorker magazine, he's from Hillsdale. He went to my high school, Pascack Valley High School. My mother was a high school English teacher at Pascack Hills High School for 40 years. And Bill Maher, also from Hillsdale, New Jersey, went to her high school. She was one of her students, too. These are media personalities who your audience may or may not know, but just little claims to fame.
Okay. Now, you mentioned your parents, they had 9 to 5 day jobs, but
Mhm.
did you have any of your family relatives were in the media or did they had 9 to 5 day jobs?
So it's interesting, Sam. So you mentioned CBS Records. My godmother, Anne, worked at CBS Records. She lived in Manhattan and she was my godmother, and she would come out on the weekends and bring me records and all kinds of great music. She wasn't just at CBS Records, she also worked at Capitol Records, EMI. She was at Sony BMG at the end of her music industry career. So yeah, I had people in the industry that I had some visibility into how things worked.
Hmm. Now, which high school did you go to?
So I went to Pascack Valley High School. That's the one where David Remnick went, and yeah, it was a great education, great public school. Very lucky to be in that school system.
Hmm. And which college did you go to?
So I did my undergraduate degree at the University of Notre Dame and in South Bend, Indiana. And I did my master's degree in mass communication at UNC Chapel Hill.
Hmm. And what was your major in college?
My undergraduate major was English and Spanish. I've always been into languages and writing, and I love language and everything related to it.
Hmm. Now, who did you want to be when you grow up?
I wanted to be a famous author, and I didn't have any specific ideas, but I was very fortunate in that I started to babysit for a family down the street, and the mom was an author. She was a mystery writer, and she also happened to work at CBS News.
Hmm.
So, again, very lucky to have those kinds of role models and visibility into what was possible.
Wow. Now, how old were you when you got into the media industry?
It's interesting. So I did this mentor of mine, Mary Jane Clark. She helped me get an internship at CBS News when I was still in college, and this was in the before the internet was a big thing. And I actually interned at a place. It was called CBS News on the Web, and it was in the election year of 1996, and it was a wonderful internship. And when I graduated um, from college, I got hired back to CBS. I worked in NewsPath in the newsroom. So that was 1997. And that was a rude awakening for me. As I mentioned to you, Sam, I'm a writer and I like to read. I'm very reflective. I'm a very deep thinker. And newsrooms are the opposite of that. They're very chaotic and a lot of information coming in. Um, Having to pick up the phone lines, I was so intimidated. There would be it was like this giant phone with 10 different lines, and I'd have to page everyone and have to run across West 57th Street to pick up tapes. And I learned quickly that the TV news was not really my jam because I really like to think about things, and
Mhm.
I thrive in a slower pace environment.
Right.
So I left. That was 1997. I left. I got an internship at a magazine, and then I went to graduate school, and then I worked in financial services for about 5 years, and then I switched into CBS Corporation, which is when I cross paths with you.
Mhm. Was being in the media industry your calling?
Definitely, it was a calling. It definitely called to me because I'm a curious person, and I've always wanted to get really good information. And it was the lure of being in a place where it was the epicenter of information, right? It's all coming in and going out. And I wanted to learn how the business worked and how all the different pieces came together. So Yes, it was a calling. You know, I've always been obsessed with the social life of information.
Now, growing up, what were some of your favorite radio stations?
Okay, I love that you're asking this because I believe we're contemporaries in the tri-state area. Um, it was the golden age of radio and hip hop and all of those things. So it was there was 98.7 Kiss FM, Hot 97, WPLJ, WBLS. Definitely was always a big Howard Stern fan when I was young. Uh, you know, my brother had it on, and I would be in the car and I'd be like, "Oh my god, this is so like naughty," and that's the key. Then you that makes you want to listen to it,
Mhm.
and then you know, as years went on, I would form bonds with people because when I went to college and I met someone on the West Coast who had access to Howard Stern because he wasn't national.
Mhm.
Um, we bonded because we both had that sense of humor, and but also you know WPLJ. I think I said that one Z100. I love all genres of music, so I listen to a lot. And then you know anything that my dad would listen to, I kind of have to listen to in the car.
Mhm. Now, growing up, who were some of your favorite black artists?
Oh wow, it's just my music taste is broad and eclectic, but most of my favorites it's black music. My dad would just play Stevie Wonder and like all just great soul music all the time. I mentioned my godmother, so she would bring the records. My father just loved music and valued it, and so Aretha Franklin, James Brown, Al Green, um, Bill Withers, like such a wide range that also mixed in with everything else, a lot of pop music, Beatles, Rolling Stones, all different genres. But the black music, my ultimate, when I was a kid, I remember just vividly the first time I saw Prince. I loved Prince, and again it's that like naughtiness of, you know, like the same thing with Howard Stern. I'm like, he went on solid gold. It was Prince in the Revolution. He had his band backing him up. And I was like, what is going on here? Like, it was so crazy because this was the beginning of the MTV era. And
Mhm.
so he knew all about the spectacle, and there was smoke. And he did the kind of gender bender thing where you're just like, I know it's a man, but he's got makeup on and he's wearing high heels. What's going on? Loved Prince, obsessed with Prince from a young age. And then also just growing up, I was born in 1975. Hip hop was born as I'm growing up in, you know, suburban New Jersey. We're listening to the radios and we're like, we're just blown away like everyone else. This is incredible. It's a whole new sound. We also liked that it would piss off, you know, the adults. They would be like, what is that? Um, And so I loved hip hop as a little kid. Roxanne Shante was my favorite because I liked the girls coming back at the boys. Um, and LL Cool J was a definite fave. But the whole gamut, it runs the gamut.
Mhm. Now, who were some of your favorite celebrities and news reporters and sportscasters
Okay.
growing up?
Celebrities, sportscast. Okay. So celebrities would definitely be, we watched a lot of TV in my house. I was definitely had crush on Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid. I would have like those posters up in my room, uh, and anyone on MTV, all about MTV. It's so influential. Those DJs and VJs and all the different iterations of MTV. Um, the specific broadcasters and newscasters. I mean, my parents had on uh, Channel 7, it was like Peter Jennings.
Yes, ABC's World News Tonight, because my
World
late
News
mother
Tonight.
be watching ABC 7 religiously. You had
Yes.
Eyewitness News with Roger Grimsby and Bill Beutel.
Yes.
And then at 7, the ABC World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. So
That was it.
she'd be watching it religiously. Why? Because on Eyewitness News, you had a diversity of news reporters.
Yes.
Everybody that looked like me, African
Yes.
American, Latino, Asian, and yes, most of the other network news, some maybe or maybe disformed or disability,
Yeah,
but you had someone that looked like us.
exactly.
So when you had a representation of that, that's what news was all about. And we'll
Yep.
talk about that a little bit later on.
Yeah. Um, I didn't watch too much sports, so I can't really speak to that. I grew up in a very hardcore sports family. They were major football fans. I would be the nerd kind of going upstairs to read. Um, but news, I definitely was a. I wrote letters to Andy Rooney complaining about his pieces on 60 Minutes or chiming in. I don't really know if it was complaining, but I felt like I needed to talk back to him
Hmm.
for
Yeah.
whatever reason. I don't remember why, but
Yeah, he'll be best known for that. When every time when you see a commentary and saying, "Why does everything have to be like that?"
yes, exactly, exactly. So, yeah, MTV was big, radio was big, and just pop. I mean, being, the 80s and 90s was such a transformative time for pop music and hip hop and MTV. It was there was no lack of creativity. Everything was unique. There was such diversity. There's so many different kinds of things going on. You didn't feel like everything was not a remake. There were original things coming out all the time. You could discover new
Hmm.
things every day.
Yes. And who were your influences?
Okay, my influences would be, I think I mentioned my godmother, Anne. She worked at Sony, and my father, um, and my mom, of course. My mom was a high school English teacher, so she really instilled in me this love of reading and analyzing literature and analyzing information and taking the time to articulate and express myself. And my father was a stockbroker, so he was a businessman, and he would talk about business and money and things of that ilk. And I think the two of them together really formed my interest and passion in marketing and communications, because it's those two disciplines together, business and the creativity kind of merged together. um, I would also say, as far as influences, um, my I was raised Catholic and very religious education, going to church every weekend and really taking that on board, having my faith and my community in my church be an anchor for me when I was
Hmm.
young.
Right.
And that was definitely influential in my upbringing too.
Right. Now, you and I have something in common. I'm a church deacon
Hmm.
at my church,
Yep.
and as a former Sunday school teacher,
Yep.
and also have to be in the church because I had to go to these fellowships. So most of the time, it was mandatory to attend one of the fellowships to represent the deacons and the pastor and my church and everything. So we do the same thing. What we do in Sunday school, we have to participate, for Black History Month and
Hmm.
Women's History Month, those two things. And also, me growing up, like on Sunday morning, I remember Davy and Goliath.
Oh,
Those,
totally.
yes,
Totally.
Davy and
Major getting
Goliath.
up to watch that. That was
Yes.
awesome.
And also Insight. That's another one that I wasn't real about what was the show was all about. Because I remember one time it came on a Saturday afternoon, right after American Bandstand on
Uh-huh.
ABC, and it was 1971. And I was staying at my late maternal aunt's apartment in the Bronx.
Hmm.
So she had Channel 7 on, and it was like, what is this? it's like another soap opera. I was like, oh no, not another soap opera. And then when I see the intro, I said, Insight, Stories of Spiritual Conflict of the 20th Century.
Oh,
And then you see the cross and you see the Catholic priest, with kind of
okay.
like the glasses like I'm wearing. I was like, what is this about? And then as I grow up in later life, and then I was watching Inside again, it's like, oh, wait a minute. I recognize those faces. Those
Huh.
are our favorite celebrities that went on to stardom.
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
I watched an episode they had James McArthur, who later played Dan Abrams or
Yeah.
Daniel of Hawaii Five-O. And then later in the 80s, there was another episode. They had Bill Bixby, star of My Favorite Martian
Yeah.
and The Incredible Hulk and
Yep.
Goodnight Beantown on CBS. And then I was watching all the stuff on YouTube. So, like every Sunday morning, from 2017 all the way up till the start of the pandemic, and then now post pandemic, I'm watching all those episodes of Inside every Sunday morning on my YouTube. And I see
Cool.
all of those familiar faces that went on to stardom. I mean,
Wow.
everyone from Ephraim Symbolis Jr. to Carol O'Connor to Philip Michael Thomas and Lynn Hamilton, just to name a few. I was like, oh. So it's
Wow.
it's kind of like those singers, Aretha Franklin and Stevie Wonder, they all started in the church.
Yep.
Same thing with Insight. All those celebrities, they started out on Insight and they went on to superstardom.
I'm gonna have to go on YouTube and look that up because it rings a bell, but I don't remember watching it. But I'm gonna go take a peek after we're done.
Okay, yes. Now, before you joined the CBS family, did you work at any other jobs? And if so, what other jobs that you worked at before you joined CBS?
Yes. So I would say, besides the internship and that news path job, the after I graduated um, from graduate school, I got a job as a marketing copywriter at an insurance company, which was not, I wanted to work in media, but I also wanted to move out of my parents' house, and the media jobs were not paying well at all. And so the financial services industry valued that I had the master's degree, and I was able to, I could afford to get an apartment, and I had roommates and everything, but uh, I worked in an insurance company. I started as a marketing copywriter. I rose up the ranks pretty quickly. Was in charge of the internal communications, website, and then by the time I left, I was working for the two executives who were trying to be the next CEO. Obviously, one of them won the job, but that was amazing. I was their strategy communications person. I would travel on the corporate jet with them. I would go to all the offsite meetings. I would prepare all the materials and presentations for the board of directors. So I got to really get my MBA on the job, working, up close with these leaders in a financial services company, and I realized pretty quickly that this wasn't going to get more interesting. Now, the the business side of things was great. I loved that, but the core business was like deferred fixed annuities and insurance, and that wasn't exciting to me. I wanted people say, "Oh, it doesn't matter. The content doesn't matter." Well, it does. The content it matters to me. I don't want to be bored, to death. And I made the switch into CBS Corporation. So um, I'm sorry, I'm jumping to ahead. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, because I was going to ask you the
Okay.
next question. How many years have you worked at CBS and what department had you worked in?
Yeah. Well, so I was hired in 2005, and I actually didn't start until 2006. 20, actually, it was probably about 26 years ago today. Now I'm looking at the date. Uh, so CBS was split off from Viacom because it used to Viacom and CBS were one company, and then in 2006 CBS did a spinoff, because the people at Paramount or Viacom, whatever you want to call it, they thought that CBS was going to be slow growth and was going to slow down the cable assets. And so they spun off CBS. We were supposed to be the slow ones. Well, guess what? We ended up, our stock actually went up like almost 10% in the first year. It was probably like, it hovered anywhere between like 8 and 10%. Um, they got it wrong. They were wrong. Now, granted, it was, we had a really strong narrative. We, had great leadership, putting the right people in place, doing the right things, and we made a really good story for Wall Street, and they bought it. And but so that I was actually hired into, Gil Schwartz hired me. I was hired into the communications department.
Mhm.
And then after a couple years, because communications and marketing work so closely, I had met George Schweitzer, through those collaborations. And
Mhm.
I was more interested in the creative side of things. It's like earnings, the numbers, super important. You got to do it, you got to understand it. But after a while, it's like, okay, it's the same thing over and over. So I wanted to be closer to the action. And that
Mhm.
was in the television network, where the core driver of the entire company was, getting people to watch those shows, selling the advertising, and, putting out a really impressive portfolio of offerings to the whole country and then the world, because international became more important. And yeah, I was there for about 13 years.
Mhm. Okay. Now, speaking of that, I was there when CBS had a little problem back in 2006, and I'll break it down for you.
Okay.
Back then, 2005, when Paramount Pictures was not doing well at the box office,
Yep.
so then our former CEO back then
Yep.
has decided, let's split it in half. CBS, excuse me, CBS will take care of CBS TV, radio, TV stations, Showtime,
Yep.
Simon and Schuster, and the Paramount Television Library. So every time when I go to the Hallmark card store and I see some of our TV shows like Star Trek, which was on NBC, and Family Ties also on NBC, and
Yep.
the Brady Bunch on ABC, I'll look at the back of the cover. I said, CBS Studios.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, people do, those are very valuable assets. So the studio owns the actual shows, and it's not, and they lease them out to different people. And I don't know if those
Mhm.
originated in CBS, if those came from the Paramount side, but I was also confused when I first got there, because I would have to write all these things for Wall Street, and I'd be like, family ties. Same reaction.
Yeah, yeah, because me growing up watching CBS, I always like to figure out who's it made by,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was aired on CBS. Like, for example, Mission Impossible was Lucy, Desilu Productions.
Yep.
And then she sold her production company to Paramount because they were on the same lot, on the
Yes.
same block. So
Yes.
Desilu was on this side and Paramount was on the other side.
Yep.
So when she sold it to Paramount Pictures, boom, that's that. So I'll just say Mission Impossible and Mannix, that was aired on CBS. That
Yep.
was made by Desilu Productions and later Paramount Television. And the same thing with Kojak. That was aired
Mm-hmm.
on CBS. It was made by Universal Studios.
Yep.
And then when I see all the situation comedies, All in the Family and its spin-offs, Maude, The Jeffersons, and
Yep.
Good Times, when I look at the credits, it says recorded at CBS Television City, Hollywood, California. So I
Mm-hmm.
know it was made by CBS,
Yep.
even though it was produced by Bud Yorkin and Norman Lear. And then by the mid 70s, it moved to Metro Media Square. I
Yep.
think of Metro Media Radio and Television here in the
Mm-hmm.
NYC, WAW-TV Channel 5.
Mm-hmm.
So then I would see all of those. And the same thing with some of the other shows that was on CBS. So me growing up, I always figure out what the show was made by.
Mm-hmm.
And then back in the 70s, we had the VHS.
Yes.
And then
Oh,
by
yes.
1981, we had that big laser disc LP.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got DVD. So now we're in streaming. So when we see all the shows and on YouTube too. So me growing up, I always wanted to find out who's it made by, who was the guest star on any of those shows, and I
Mm-hmm.
would find out what to get on there. Same thing with records. I always like to find out who was the singer, what was the name of the song, what record label they were on.
Yep.
Because when most of the record companies went out of business or got merged with other companies, and then we see some of the record companies went out of business, and then you have some companies that don't have any music experience.
Yeah.
And most of the singers back in the 50s and 60s were left homeless and penniless.
Yep.
So when you see those things, that's up to me because I'm a consumer and I want
Yes.
to know who's it made by. Because we in our family, we take that remote control and go and don't know who's it made by. Same
Yep.
thing when we go to the movies.
Yep.
Because when award time comes, then we're trying to figure out who did what. I didn't know that person was or that
Yep.
because everybody do their own thing but don't know who's it made by. But for me, I always like to find out who's it made by,
Yep.
what network was it on, and on the silver screen what the movie was made by. Once it gets to DVD, VHS, and now I'm watching it on YouTube, all the free stuff and
Mm-hmm.
everything. It's me. I always like to find out who's it made by because that was me growing up.
Yeah. It's great that, to have that sensibility and have that awareness. It's important to know where, information that you receive comes from. What is the
Mhm.
source and what can you believe and how was it made? It becomes, these lessons become even more important as time goes on. Now we're going through this with artificial intelligence. Is that a human? Is that real? Is that, synthetic? Is that a fake person? Is that, you can't even believe your eyes anymore.
Yeah, because when AI came in, there was a movie about it, and is that person real or something? And then I was just a little curious about it. I was just saying, it's like if you die, then someone can use your voice for that.
Yeah.
I was at first, I was curious about that at first and
Hmm.
everything. And then you mentioned everything because I'm taking up an AI class
Oh,
for the
good
New
for
York
you.
State Department of Labor and Alignable too. So when they saying something on Chat GPT,
Yeah.
then they would have all the information popped up. And I was watching some of the podcasts, some of the guests on the show was talking about Chat GPT, and
Yep.
I was like, what?
Yeah. It's a transformative moment for the entire industry. So just today, Matthew McConaughey, the actor Matthew McConaughey, he filed copyright on his likeness, his voice. So any AI that starts impersonating him, using his likeness, his voice, he's going to sue.
Hmm.
And these, people who have the resources and the means really need to fight this fight,
Hmm.
because um, otherwise other entities and organizations can make money off. We've seen it, tale as old as time, people being taken advantage of. But the people who have the ability to fight it need to fight it, because it's happening much quicker than people understand.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
it's really scary,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm taking up these courses
Good.
and Coursera classes because I'm learning how to design my podcast. Because back then, when I started season 4 on video, and I said to myself, "Oh boy, I gotta get up with this video tech and everything," and
Look
that's
at you,
why
though. You're on
season
season 4 already. Good for you.
well, this is season 5 now.
It's amazing.
Yeah, season 4, I did it in my kitchen,
Okay.
in my
Yes, that's right.
messy kitchen. And one of the people was saying, "Don't you have a backdrop or something? And I would tell them, you want me to get better things? I tell them subscribe and support my
There
show
you go.
because these things cost money. It's the
Yep.
skills that pays the bills. To
Yep.
me, I call it makeup time from those DJ gigs that I have missed.
Hmm.
So now, since I said, let's go into my living room, season number 5, try to do something different
I love it.
and do it in this living room right here. You don't see nothing in the background, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Because Riverside.fm had sent me some of those visual effects, and
Hmm.
then I used it from last season, and I said, where's the rest of me? Just the head? Where's the rest of me? So
Yeah.
I wasn't happy with it, what they sent me some things, especially those emails or webinars or anything, because they keep up to date with the background stuff. And then when I start doing this is season 5,
Hmm.
they send me those background things. I said, where were you all this time? I could have had me other design or something for season 5. But then when they started bringing the background, I said, okay. They sent me those design backgrounds. I said, like, I don't want to use that. And
Yeah.
then they said upload. I said like, oh, okay. So if I'm not happy with those things, I can load up something. Okay, perfect. So let's upload some pictures of musicians from the pictures that I took from different museums.
Okay.
When I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum in Cleveland, Ohio, the Smithsonian's in Washington, D.C., and some of the local museums in the NYZ, including the Museum of the City of New York on Fifth Avenue and East 103rd Street. They had that hip hop thing back in 2021, the pictures. And I would take pictures from our museum, the Museum of Television and Radio, now the Paley
Oh, right.
Museum
Hmm.
on 25 West 52nd Street, because they would have like Black History Month, and I would take pictures of some of the musicians. So that would fit for my podcast. So I would tell everybody that it's the music that I interview, Black music, whether it's gospel, jazz, blues, old school classic soul, old school hip hop, today's hip hop and R&B, Caribbean, Latin, Afrobeat, Afro Latina, blue-eyed soul, disco, go-go, and the line dances and those lost classics. So I would tell attract the listener and the viewer of what you see on my podcast. So like different seasons, just like I go to the store and I see those shows on DVD with different pictures on
Hmm.
different seasons, I do the same thing for my podcast, like different seasons. So like season 1, I pull up a picture of Mahalia Jackson and the Soul Stirrers and Dinah
Hmm.
Washington. That was season 1. Season 2, I put up pictures of artifacts from AM 1190 WANN from Detroit. That picture was taken from the Smithsonian's Museum of American History. For season 3, I put up a picture of hip hop, Houdini. That picture was taken from the Museum of the City of New York. Season 4, I put up a picture of Beyonce and Adele. That picture was taken from the Grammy Museum at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. My paternal cousin had treated me for my belated birthday thing. So I went out there and took pictures of those. So that's some of the things that you'll see when you see all of the artists from different seasons. So when I'm taking up those Coursera classes, they
Hmm.
sent me those designs. I said, okay, let's put up a picture. I put up a picture of Bob Marley, which season 5, and I took a picture of Donna Summer from my computer. I said, okay, we can use that for season 6.
Hmm.
So I kind of like take some baby steps.
Yeah.
So I said, let's
That's the way you do it.
practice. Let's practice.
Yeah. Trial and
And
error, experimentation. Hmm.
yeah, all of that. Now, let's talk about some of our memories at
Okay.
CBS, because you know CBS will be 98 years old in March,
Wow.
because back then CBS had that mini series called CBS on the Air. That was aired on Easter Sunday, March 26, 1978. And I was at my friend's house. We was watching The Wizard of Oz, but I wanted to watch The Wonderful World of Disney on NBC. So we were fighting
Oh, the
over the
wonderful world
TV.
of Disney. Oh,
Mhm.
love that.
Yes.
Such good memories.
Yeah, so I was watching The Wizard of Oz on CBS, and then at 9 o'clock they had CBS on the air. So they started off with the opening ceremonies. All of the CBS stars from the past and
Hmm.
present, and they would start off, part one, you had All in the Family and Kojak and Captain Kangaroo and the Saturday morning cartoons. And part two, Monday, you had Lucy and B. Arthur. And part three, you had the cast of MASH.
Hmm.
And then part four, Wednesday, you had Dick Van Dyke, Buddy Epson, Danny Kaye, the Charlie Brown specials, and Cicely Tyson. Because Cicely Tyson was on a drama series called East Side, West Side, starring the late George C. Scott. That was aired on CBS. But she'll be best remembered for her TV special, The Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman, which won her an Emmy Award for Best Actress in a TV movie, miniseries, or special. She'll be
Oh,
best remembered for that.
okay.
And on Thursday, they had the cast of the Waltons. And then Friday, Mary Tyler Moore with Jim Nabors and Linda Lavin, Bert Convey and Eve Arden. They will have clips from the specials, which include the Miss USA pageant, the
Hmm.
Tonys, the Grammys, and yes, the soaps. You know,
Yep.
the love of life. Search for tomorrow. Home is where the heart is, the young and the restless. And then 1 o'clock they go for local station break. 1:30 back to the soaps with As the World Turns, The Guiding Light, The Edge of Night, and Love is a Many Splendid Thing, and The Secret Storm. And you had all them game shows. And my maternal grandparents we were watching CBS all week.
Hmm.
I said, "Can I look at the cartoons for 1 minute?" And
Yeah.
then like the following week, they'll be watching NBC, the Today Show and
Yep.
Not for Women Only, the game shows, and then soaps, Days of Our Lives, and Somerset in Another World.
You are
And then,
so anti soaps, man. I loved All My Children. That was, I should have
yeah.
mentioned that earlier. That was
Yeah,
also,
and then the following week they were watching ABC. They didn't have Good Morning America back then. They had some local morning shows, and they had the morning movie, and then some game shows and reruns, and yeah, All My Children, and One Life to Live, and General Hospital, more game
yes.
shows, and a 4:30 movie. And I
Yes.
said, "Can I look at my cartoons for a minute? Can I
Well,
look at Bugs Bunny or Popeye for
we
one
had to
minute?"
wait around. These kids today get to just anything they want, always on demand. There's no waiting. It's just
hmm
immediately put on whatever you want.
Yeah, and everything.
Yep.
So, what was your best memories from CBS?
Oh, there's so many great memories. To this day, I'm still in touch with my close friends from CBS. Um, I would say overall, I can't believe, like, I just feel so lucky that I got to learn from these incredibly brilliant people who really knew so much about entertainment and you know storytelling and marketing and just we just had fun. We had a lot of fun. Yes, there's intensity, there's difficulty, but I think that's going to happen anywhere. Um, I would say one of the coolest things that happened to me, quite literally, was when we got a very big hip hop star to come to one of our spin-offs of NCIS. It was NCIS Los Angeles. It was one and only LL Cool J himself during the show, and we had him. He came and performed at the Upfront at Carnegie Hall, and
Oh,
I have to tell you, I was definitely starstruck because I mean, I would be in my room as a little kid in front of the mirror, like
hmm
lip syncing to LL Cool J, especially the album Mama Said Knock You Out. I
hmm
mean, I really did. I was like doing this in New Jersey, and then I'm here and he's rehearsing, and I got to meet him, and he just was like the coolest. guy, like just really um, incredible talent. And he also is just such a professional. So we did a lot to promote that show,
Mm-hmm.
and he helped us promote it. And one of the events that we had planned for him was not very well attended. Now, this is
Mm-hmm.
a nightmare if you work in entertainment. You plan an event, you have a big star coming, and nobody's there. Yikes. It was a dicey situation. And the way he handled it was so inspiring to me. He said, listen, we don't do the show for the people who aren't here. We do the show for the people who are here. And he just had this attitude of like, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna give these people a great show. It doesn't, of course he wants there to be more people. It wasn't his fault. But he
Mm-hmm.
just had this really great attitude. And that was pretty cool. I'm trying to think of other great memories. A lot of So I was in the marketing department. We had a lot of travel and big events, things that it would be at Comic Con. We bring the talent and have them interact with the public, and we do screenings and panels. We did a cross country tour called the CBS Buzz Tour on a bus, and we went all over the country promoting the new season. Um, that was an experience. I mean, it's a literal road trip with your work friends. That was pretty fun, and but really the real honor that it is when you work with creative people and you get to a point where you know each other and trust each other, and when you're on a great team, it's just the best feeling because you're like, oh, that person knows how to do that, and that person knows how to do that. So that was that was what I loved about my time at CBS. Very grateful for it.
Yeah. You mentioned LL Cool J, who
Mhm.
did at the upfronts. I know all of the audience was like, were they like,
The audience was good. I mean, they're ad buyers. They're not going to jump out of their seat. They're not people who are going to like dance around.
mm-hmm,
Um, like they didn't understand. It was kind of like the gift of his performance is a little bit wasted on
mm-hmm,
this crowd, but people you can't deny. I mean, it's someone like him and his presence and his music. You can't deny it. It's like holy crap! Like this is LL Cool J on the stage of Carnegie Hall.
mm-hmm,
It was quite. I remember too. It was like he was on the cover of Broadcasting and Cable magazine, like his silhouette,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Right. Now, since you and I are no longer
Mhm.
working at Viacom CBS, which is now Paramount Skydance
Yep.
Media, ugh, I have not watched CBS since it was sold to Skydance. And what I have been seeing ever since I got laid off, and then at the same year, News Radio 880 was gone.
Hmm.
And I kept in touch with some of those colleagues from News Radio. I interviewed two ladies so far. One worked in the traffic department. Her name was Angela Thompson. She has her own thing. And Sylvia Herrera, she worked as a sales executive. She
Hmm.
worked at News Radio 880. Now she's a co-owner of Venus Media. And the way that I see it, you know, my late maternal cousin had worked for CBS, and he was the first black to be hired at CBS when it was at 485 Madison Avenue on the east side and East 52nd Street. Everyone was in that building, and records was across the street around the corner.
Hmm.
And then when it started building Black Rock in 1964, 65, and then they would start building the broadcast center. And my cousin Ernest was in charge of news film syndication. So then, when you have all those bike messengers bringing in those newsreels
Yes.
um, from the scene, they would drop it off at the desk, and they would take it in to the news film syndication department, and then my cousin would take care of it, process it, and get it in place, and he would be on a helicopter, be dropped off all to the CBS News bureaus in London, Japan,
Oh,
and
wow.
Beirut. And he was sharing everything with me. And yes, he was there when CBS created Viacom
Mm-hmm.
that was dealing with syndication. So again, when I was watching Captain Kangaroo, and then at 9 o'clock a.m. with all those reruns from CBS, I would never knew that it would be distributed through Viacom. So then, when I heard some of the brothers was telling me that um, they didn't get their props, so when Viacom didn't get their money props from CBS, Viacom said bye, and that's when Viacom went on its own.
Hmm.
That's when they started producing shows for other networks. They were doing syndication. They created WLTW FM
Oh,
when it
yeah.
was on 140 West 43rd Street.
Mm-hmm.
Before they moved in to 1515 Broadway, they took care of MTV and VH1 and Nickelodeon. And in 2000, when Robert Johnson sold BET to Viacom, and then Country Music Television, or CMT, it too was sold to Viacom. So all of these changes is like it's not the same. And like I said, I stopped watching CBS because I was so disgusted
Oh.
with what they're doing now. I mean, all of our favorite news reporters, including Michelle Miller and Dana Jacobson, they were let go right before Thanksgiving. And all those pink slips has been going out during the holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
And then more resignations, Maurice Dubois and John Dickerson. And I didn't know that John Dickerson's mother was the co-creator of Face the Nation. That I didn't know. So
I don't think I
me
knew that either.
Me
Yeah.
too, because every time, like Sunday morning, I only see like two cartoons on CBS, and then like around 8:30, they had the local religion program called The Way to Go,
Mm-hmm.
and then at 9 a.m., CBS News presents Lamp Unto My Feet,
Mm-hmm.
and then another one says CBS News presents Look Up and Live, and then they had some other shows on there. The 11:30 Face the Nation. So you had one news reporter from CBS News, and then you had another reporter from different newspapers. It could be one from the New York Times or from the Washington Post. And then you had a guest would have to face the nation to the three reporters. So that I didn't know that Nancy Dickinson was the co-creator of the public affairs program. That I didn't know. So, and everything from sports, I wasn't no football fan, but mostly New Year's Day I will watch the college football
Mm-hmm.
and everything. So the CBS that I knew was the network that brought us Lucy and the Carol Burnett show and the Charlie Brown specials and All in the Family, which is spin-offs, Maude, Good Times, and the Jeffersons, and also detective shows like Mannix and Cannon
Mm-hmm.
and Barnaby Jones and Magnum, and dramas including Dallas and its spin-off Knots Landing, and of course the NBA, the NFL,
Yep.
NCAA, Walter Cronkite, who I got a chance to meet when I was at BlackRock. And I didn't know that Walter Cronkite was still with the company. I thought he was like retired from CBS News or being forced to step down and let Dan Rather move in because you got some of the other colleagues from the other networks were bringing in new faces,
Mm-hmm.
especially for CBS and NBC. You had all the big stars, but at ABC, you had the fresh new faces.
Yep.
So every time I go to the research department to look at the ratings, I see ABC News got the highest rating because you got the fresh faces.
Yep.
NBC was like in the middle for CBS was like ugh, for the old seniors.
Yeah.
No offense to my seniors at CBS and everything, but
Yeah.
it was
Well,
just me going for
when
the.
I was there, we tried to reinvigorate the evening news with Katie Couric. That did not work. That
Mhm.
was a that did not work. You know.
Yeah,
But
and yeah, and then Scott Pelley had filled in, and then Laura O'Donnell, and then you had some other ones, and then ugh, everything. And I was so disgusted, The network that I have worked for 35 years, out of that Tiffany network, would be turning 98 years old. And my late cousin was the first black to be hired at CBS, been there for 33 and a half years. I mentioned he was there when Viacom was there. And then by the 80s, Ted Turner wanted to buy CBS. I was there when I was watching Entertainment Tonight, when it was in syndication before it
Mm-hmm.
joined the CBS stations. And at that time, when Mr. Tisch bought CBS in 1986,
Yep.
it was a big shakeup at the Tiffany network. So then many layoffs were given out. News got hit the most, but my cousin's job was saved. So we had another location down at the Port Authority building at
Mm-hmm.
111 8th Avenue on the ninth floor. So he was there for data processing. So he was there for a year and a half until he said, I quit. Why? Because data processing was not his field. It was the computer tech world that we are in. So,
Okay.
and like me, I was in the mail department, but then when I was going to trade school, Center for the Media Arts, which is no longer there, it was located on West 26th Street between 7 and 8, right across the street from where the old CBS studio used to be.
Hmm.
And that's when later we be the home for Rachel Ray, that was
Oh, that's right.
CBS
Yeah.
distributed by that time. So my first choice was radio broadcasting, and then I got turned down for it, so I was end up in graphic design. So when I told my mom that I was going to go into the media, she thought I was nuts,
Mm-hmm.
and she was just concerned about the pay.
Yeah.
Does that pay you? Do you get that Social
Mm-hmm.
Security tax or the FICA and
Yep.
everything? Will you survive and everything? So I was saying radio was my calling because everyone loved my voice.
Mm-hmm.
Because me growing up in the third grade or the second grade, I was afraid to read in front of the class because everyone would laugh at my voice.
Hmm.
And then
You have such a
when,
great voice. It's so smooth.
oh, thank you so
It's
much.
it's like it's funny how, as a little kid, it's like you had this talent. They like people weren't ready for it. I
Yes.
noticed that too. I see that with kids all the time. I see
Mm-hmm.
kids who are just ahead, they're just ahead of they're just ahead.
Yeah. And, during the mid 90s when CBS was sold to Westinghouse, and then uh, John Salvio, I call him a little Jerry Maguire, he was letting me know that WRTN went R&B. I said, WRTN went R&B? I said, get out of here.
Hmm.
93.5 FM in New Rochelle, New York, when it was all beautiful music, elevator music back then. And you know the old saying, seniors doesn't want format changes.
Right.
They like to keep things the way things are
Yep.
for them.
Yep.
So when I went for an intern at WVOX in New Rochelle, New York, and I was there on a Tuesday evening. I was there, every Tuesday evening. So one of the director of operations, radio board operations, they wanted me to put me on a Sunday morning. I said, Sunday morning, that's out because that was my church time.
Yes.
So you have to be in Sunday school and church. So then when I found out that CBS was sold to Westinghouse, I said, okay, you got a shift for me? I said, we'll put you down for Sunday evening, 7 to 1. I said, okay, we can work this out because I can go take the Westchester Beeline bus, be there at 4 o'clock. I had to be taking care of the technical director because I was in charge of taking care of the Irish show from
Hmm.
4 to 5, and I took care of the Westchester Bronx Church News from 5 to 5:30, and then from 5:30 to sign off time, I will be on the air. So this is a picture of me when I was at AM 1460 WVOX, and that was my Sunday shift.
Cool.
So I was there from August of 1995 until I was laid off in October of 1998. So then I came back to do the Christmas Eve shift. That's the one that I love because when Pix 11 took off the Yule log,
I said, now it's my chance to do my version of the Yule log. And then by Pix 11 returned it back because of 9/11. Now they realize. So I was still having fun at VOX, and radio was my calling. And then later, I would work at WFUV as a technical director, taking care of the shows on those little DAT tapes. And then, but at 11 p.m., it would go automatic on computer. And I was doing DJ gigs from 2012 by the time the start of the pandemic. And then I came back post pandemic. And then before I was laid off, I was introduced to the People Development Program, which was then from our then CEO, Bob Vasquez, from
Yes.
December 2009 until he was forced to be stepped down by Sherry Redstone
Yep.
in March of 2024. So
Yep.
when I looked at that email, I was just getting ready to delete it. And I'll tell you why. Because what can the People Development Program do for me? What will it do? For its pitfalls and everything like that. I was waiting for a DJ gig, but what can it do for me?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in the meeting with my supervisor Edna Gomes and our coworker Charles Anderson, who we loaned over to Showtime, we was in the meeting, and we was all scratching our heads and saying, "Why are you telling us now when everyone is quitting? Some had left CBS to find better jobs with better pay. Some who've been at CBS for like 50 years that took early retirement, and some have left to form their own business."
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the People Development Program came up, and podcast was on the list. So my
Okay.
supervisor have said, "You have a voice for it. You should sign up." So then after the meeting, I got a text from my paternal cousin, whom I haven't met yet. He's in the music business, and he suggested me that I should do a music podcast.
Oh, there you
And
go.
that's when I had to pitch in an idea and
Cool.
named it the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.
I love
And
it.
then I asked a coworker who's a producer for news. Her name is Tanya Dunham, and I've met her back in 2003. We usually be out on Friday nights. Some of our former and present CBS coworkers, we be out on Friday nights at the work party. And she would do some of her shows on Zoom. And then she had some of her stuff on Facebook, and she'd been jumping podcasts here and there. So I asked her, "What product do you use?" And she said Spotify. So that's when I started using it.
Okay.
Kept in touch with my cousin, and I said, "Yo, cuz, you think you can hook me up with some groups?" And then I'm still waiting. And I said, "Look, it's October 2021. Where's the guest at?"
Yeah.
So then, since for the first two seasons, I was playing music and talking at the same time. So I
Mm-hmm.
was telling the audience the name of the artist, the name of the song, what LP was it taken from, what record label it was on, how long that song have entered on the pop charts or on the soul charts, and what the album, how long they stayed on that, did the album got its gold or platinum or double platinum, did that artist performed on Soul Train or American Bandstand
Mm-hmm.
or NBC Saturday Night Live
Or
or that
solid
other
gold.
show. Yes, Solid Gold with Dionne Warwick. And there was that other show on PBS called Soul with an
Mm-hmm.
exclamation point,
Yep.
hosted by Ellis Hayslip. So like they would have like different guests. Like one night they had Cicely Tyson
Mm-hmm.
performing, or I should say promoting her movie Sounder. Another episode they had Stevie Wonder. Another episode they had Ashford and Simpson. Another episode they had the Dells, and another episode they had Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes with Teddy Pendergrass with that perm back then. So that was the show that I know, and everything. And yes, Saturday morning cartoons on CBS.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Bugs Bunny and Fat Albert and the CBS Children's Film Festival. And those are the shows. And I remember a show called You Are There, hosted by Walter Cronkite.
Hmm.
And yes, in the news. That was like a CBS news break for kids.
Hmm.
So that was the CBS that I knew growing up. And everything that I'm seeing now, it's yuck.
Yeah.
It's not
I
the same as it was.
yeah. It's my attitude is just to hold on to the good parts and not, it's I've been out much longer and I just have um I try to hold on to the good stuff and just I'm grateful that I got to do that when I did and that I got to meet wonderful people and it's the world has changed dramatically and um the industry has changed dramatically um and I think all of us who are creative people who enjoy, music and television and um, any any and many forms of entertainment, we have to, um, like you were saying, be aware of where the stuff is coming from. Be conscious of what we are giving our attention to and who are the sources that we're giving the attention to and focus on the positive stuff because what we let into our minds, I'm sorry, I can't help myself, I'm a professor and I get into lecture mode sometimes,
Hmm.
but what we allow in, that forms like the way we're seeing things. So um, we got to, especially in the internet and tech age, is algorithms will feed you like things that you don't necessarily want to keep seeing all the time.
Hmm.
We got to be protective of what we're letting in.
Yeah.
So
And like I said, I have not watched CBS
yep.
ever since they aired the Kennedy Center Honors. I did not watch it, so I've joined with John Philo and Tina Dakin. I said we boycott.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I have not watched CBS during its fall season. I will watch the Grammys, but I will not watch CBS again. I will go to YouTube and check out CBS New York weather forecast,
Hmm.
but I will not watch CBS again, period. So on New Year's Day, I was watching the Tournament of Roses parade on NBC
Hmm.
because me growing up, CBS, NBC, and ABC, they had the Tournament of Roses parade.
Yep.
And now it's just NBC. So then after that, I was just watching antenna TV all day. I was just watching
Yeah.
all the reruns. So that's my new home
Oh.
and everything. So I pray for our other colleagues at NBC and ABC. I'm saying, please let them do the right thing and let's continue with the news and telling the truth.
Hmm.
And you get all the news, uh, everything news machines from United Press International and the Associated Press,
Yes.
not Fox News.
Yeah. Reuters is a good one too. I actually I believe in journalism and I believe in high quality information. So I pay for certain things. Um, like I have I get Wall Street Journal through my public library. If you have a library card, you can access it.
Hmm.
Um, I pay for the Wall Street Journal, I mean, the New York Times and for Bloomberg
Hmm.
because they do real reporting. They do really deep journalistic reporting, and I'm very wary of sensationalized news. And I do follow a lot of Substack reporters and commentary because as the media has changed and newsrooms have cut back on their staff, um, you're seeing really talented people create their own platforms. And especially if you follow news and entertainment, which I do, there are certain outlets. I subscribe to one that's called Puck, which is a good one. They kind of track the intersection of media, tech, and Hollywood. And I also subscribe to one that's called The Ankler, and that's also on Substack. And they report on really film, TV, but they're very more more scripted entertainment and traditional entertainment as opposed to streamers and big tech. And
Right.
yeah, it's about staying informed, making sure you have good quality information, and also making sure you get don't forget your eyes, your ears, people around you, keeping your situational awareness, and getting information that you trust through people that you trust. You used to be able to trust kind of journalistic outlets, um, and now, because AI and technology is changing, everything kind of looks the same. So it's hard to
Hmm.
know. It's hard to know what to trust.
Yeah. Speaking of trust, I know that Uncle Walter is crying in his grave right now. He's probably saying, "This is not the network that I have reported the news on to being becoming the world's most trusted newsman of the 20th century." I know he's looking at CBS right now, getting punched in the eye and left a stain on it, which causes people to leave.
Yeah.
And just like you said, we're losing trust. It's like corporate companies taking over everything. They don't think about us. They think about this.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. So I'm praying for all of our other colleagues
Yep.
and PBS and, no more PBS because I grew up on PBS. I grew up on Sesame Street and the Electric Company and Mr. Rogers and
Mm-hmm.
Zoom. Not the Zoom on the computer. I'm talking about the kids show.
Yep.
Zoom. So won't
Yep.
you zoom, 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 zoom?
Oh,
That
yeah.
Zoom. And
Totally.
yes, so
Yeah.
that was all of the networks that I knew before they started thinking about profit and not people who
Mm-hmm.
entertain and bring you news and information and sports and yes, public affairs. And that's very important. So I pray that, if we find something, and I'm very proud of you that you're doing something, which we won't talk about this podcast that I've been checking out. Talk about your podcast called the Content Chaos Podcast. How did you come up with that name?
So,
And and how many months have it been in existence?
thank you for noticing. So, the podcast is called Content Chaos. It is actually, it's interesting. It dates back to CBS. So, George Schweitzer, the former president of marketing, who was my boss and mentor and still mentor, we we had a thought leadership platform collaboration, and we talked about how the media world was changing and becoming fragmented and is so chaotic. And this trend is that we're in now, it's been coming for a long time. And we called it content chaos. And we did a presentation called Content Chaos. And it was kind of it was our thought leadership platform. And when I got a role teaching at NYU Tisch School of the Arts, I teach entertainment marketing there. I decided to call the class Conquering Content Chaos because no matter what part of journalism you're in, or media, or entertainment, or anything where you need to get attention to your cause, you have to conquer this wild marketplace. If you want to get people's attention, it's so hard to break through all the noise, right? So it is a content chaos world because it used to be a monoculture where we all kind of had the same reference points, and we don't
Mhm.
anymore. It's very chaotic. And so my husband and I, so that's the name of my class, is Conquering Content Chaos. And my husband and I play tennis we take tennis lessons on Sunday nights, but in the summertime we have no, there's a hiatus, there's a summer hiatus. So we were looking for something to do on Sunday nights in the summertime. And I said, I want to learn how to, I kind of knew how to do a podcast. It's, using Riverside. You can do it. It's pretty intuitive. But I wanted to build the muscle myself, where we make it each week, whether we feel like it or not. We show up and we do it. And we, he, he does podcasts for work all the time. So he said, sure, no problem. We'll set it up. He created the key art using AI, and we just started doing it. I think we're on our 22nd episode. The one we just pushed out yesterday. And It's fun. I We don't put a lot of prep into it, and we try to make the episodes be 20 minutes or less. And we answer three questions: what went well, what could have been better, what did we learn? And it's become a ritual for the two of us to kind of reflect on our week. And that's one of the things in conquering content chaos and kind of the weariness of the world we're in. It's the things that we do each week we show up to, whether it's church or whether it's, meeting with friends, or it's kind of creating these moments to be together where we can reflect and talk about what we've learned. And yeah, it's just fun. I just have fun with it. It's fun to play with technology.
Mm. I see that you're following me since I was doing a podcast. I see that you're following me. So
Yeah,
you probably say like, "Oh, Sam is doing a podcast, huh?
exactly.
Okay,
Riverside.
yes, yeah." So like everybody's following me. So I said, I think I picked up where we left off at.
Yes.
You know the old saying,
Yep.
and it's like, okay, I can do this podcast, and now everyone's following me. Is like, oh, is that Sam doing a podcast? I'm like, oh, I can do one too. So,
Yes. You never know who's
so,
watching. You never know who you're inspiring with what you do.
hmm
So,
yes. So I'm glad that I had inspired you. So
mhm,
thank you for the compliment.
absolutely.
Now that we see the rise of independent media, as I mentioned, some of our favorite news reporters have left, and
Hmm.
some of our colleagues. What do we see in the future of independent media? I've seen Joy Reid and Katie Fang. They were both at MSNBC. They're no
Hmm.
longer at MSNBC. Katie Fang is on the Midas Touch Network.
Hmm.
Joy Reid has her own podcast, and CNN's Don Lemon,
Yep.
he has his own podcast, and CNN's Jim Acosta, the one who asked President Trump the
Yep.
question, the toughest question, say, "You're a fake news reporter. You shouldn't be on CNN." So guess what? Jim Acosta's with the Midas Touch Network. So I have to ask you this question. What do you see in the rise of independent media?
As a student of media and entertainment and journalism, having, I studied journalism history, and there are trends. Things come together and they fall apart, and they come together and they fall apart. And we're in a moment now where we're things are coming apart at the seams. And so you're having people that were part of these bigger media entities go become independent. And that path is great for the people that it works for, but you have to already have a name and a kind of awareness and credibility to really make a living at it.
Hmm.
If people don't know who you are, it's very hard to break into that world. It's not impossible though, and I see a lot of young journalists doing it, and it's an interesting. I'm actually really encouraged by it. You see some really entrepreneurial new models of journalism, people on Substack and YouTube filling in, because people are tired of, like, I'm going to be shallow here, but why does everyone have to be attractive? Like, you put on the news on TV and everyone's like pretty in one way or another, which is not to say, it's just people look all different ways. And it's, I find it refreshing to get it unvarnished. You don't need to see the makeup. You don't need to have all this glitz and glamour. And
Yeah, because that kind of reminds me of Brooke Baldwin when I was following her
mhm.
on YouTube. I didn't have cable back then.
Yep.
But then when she was no longer at CNN, she wasn't wearing the makeup. So like, Brooke, is that you? No makeup? And I was like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just like you said, we don't want to be wearing that heavy makeup under the hot lights. Nobody
Yeah.
want to see everything.
Yeah.
Just do the news, report the news, and be honest and truthful.
Yeah. But the people are always going to seek out stuff that's already comfortable to them, that the kind of information that they have, they're more drawn to. And that's why, we all just have to be aware. And I like to expose myself to other points of view. I mean, I'm not putting on Fox News anymore, but
Hmm.
not that I really did, but I used to put it on just to see what was going on over there. And now it's just
Hmm.
like, I don't even need, like, I can't. I don't need to do that anymore. Um, but I think, just to get out of our bubbles and not let information, even politics, get in the middle of, our humanity, and just being a good person, connecting with people, seeing people through the lens of just humanity. It doesn't have to, everything have to come through the media. It can just be us meeting each other and getting a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Because me growing up, I had to sit and watch the news.
Yeah.
And, you got your news and your sports and your weather. Don't leave out entertainment news, and don't leave out news that affects the Black and Latino
Mm-hmm.
community. Because me growing up on Metro Media Channel 5, now Fox 5, we had Black news
Yep.
with Bill McCurry. On NBC4, you have Positively Black and Visiones.
Mm-hmm.
ABC7, you have Like It Is and Tiempo. And WOR-TV Channel 9, they used to have In the Black and Hispanic Horizons.
Mm-hmm.
And on Pix11, they used to have Black Pride, which later changed it to Black Conversations, and Puerto Rican New Yorker. So those are some of the news that I had to watch. You got your everything, but don't leave out entertainment, because when you go to the supermarket, you see the Star magazine and National Enquirer said that's junk food.
Yeah.
That's fake news.
Yeah.
You got to hear it from the source, from
Yep.
the real entertainers. And as
Yep.
I mentioned, news that affects the Black and Brown community. What what you see in the Black and Latino community, it affects them too. So I had to watch the news and everything.
Yep.
So I'm
Yep.
glad you brought that up. And
Yep.
right now you're seeing independent media, and you have the Midas Touch Network and Roland Martin and the Young Turks. So I be watching those, because I think of myself, if I had my own TV and radio station, I would have we will have like FM radio, and then have the morning news 10 minutes, and then midday news 10 minutes, afternoon news 10 minutes.
Yep.
Same thing for TV. I will have all the reruns and have all the cartoons, and then we'll have the news and Entertainment Tonight and everything. We're not putting on that shows that had trash and everything. So we try to keep it family friendly,
Yeah.
because when I watch all the other podcasters and stuff, they can say what they want to say, they can cuss and everything, but for my podcast, I keep it radio family friendly. I'm doing
Yes.
it the way that Walter Cronkite, Bill McCrary, Gil Noble, Melba Tolliver, Bob Teague, Sue Simmons, Carol Jenkins, Charmaine Hunter go, Gwen Eiffel, just to name a few. And that's how I was raised.
Yep.
And I wanted to be like Dick Clark and Don Cornelius and Casey Kasem. They do the music, and more informative, like Walter Cronkite. So I put that all together and be informative and tell you about all of our favorite independent singers, whether they were on the major record labels or not on the major record labels. They
Mm-hmm.
get everything. So that's what we're seeing now, and
Yep.
that's how I learned from everybody on
Yep.
TV.
Yep. That's a good
Yes,
use of TV.
yes. Now, since we've talked about everything, being us at CBS and doing your podcast, what's Colleen Kenny doing now?
I am a professor at NYU. I teach entertainment marketing. My class is called Conquering Content Chaos. I also am a writer. I write on Substack. The name of my Substack account is Calls Creative, and I am writing a book right now, so that's taking up a lot of my creative energy. And then I also am consulting, and a lot of the way my work has evolved, I've really deepened my education in education, and I've really enjoyed teaching students. I teach at a community college in addition to NYU. And I am going to be teaching in the fall at Rutgers a class called Disinformation Detox. So it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. And it's about, making sure people are not just taking in technology and taking in information, but that they have a mindful approach to it and that they consider before they, look at their phone or use AI. They stop for a moment and think about, okay, why am I using this? Because very, very strong companies who are tapping into people's brains and their addiction. We're addicted. These platforms and these information sources are designed to kind of make us feel dependent on them. And so my goal in this next era of my career is to contribute to the world of education, more mindful approaches to information. And one of the groups that I'm working with is a nonprofit called the Mindful Generation. And we develop content and experiences and events for school systems and parents and communities to inform people about how to interact with AI and social media and digital media in a way that you're still getting a good education and you're still current with the times, but that you're not getting hooked the way an addict gets hooked. Because these products are designed to hook you like an addict.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question I always ask my guests: living or dead, which artist that you wish you wanted to meet?
I would love to meet Prince. I mentioned Prince earlier, and Prince for me is just one of the most iconic artists. His creativity, his spirit. I mean, he was an enigma, and he was hilarious. He was so funny. He did so many practical jokes on people. Just love watching him in his interviews. He's so irreverent. He's like smart, like way again, someone who's so ahead of his time. His understanding of the internet was like way before everyone else. And I did get to see him. I got to see him perform live, and but I would relish the opportunity to just bask in his presence.
Okay. Now, here in the Black Soul Music Experience, I always ask my guests who is the top 10 R&B Black artist of all time. So since I have you, Colleen, and since you're a big fan of R&B Black music, we're about to do the top 10 R&B Black artists of all time and classic soul too. Now, here's how it works.
Okay.
We do it like a top 10 countdown, like the show,
Okay.
America's Top 10, hosted by the late Casey Kasem.
Yep.
We start at the bottom 5.
Okay.
We will figure out who was the best singer but didn't get any recognition.
Oh.
In other words, they were on a major record label, but their record didn't get marketed or promoted.
Yeah.
And when we get to the top 5, we will find out who was the biggest million selling artist of all time. Did that artist had those top 10 number one hits? Did that artist receive a Grammy or American Music Award or a Soul Train Award or a BET Award or MTV VMA Award? Did that artist got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Did that album have received gold or platinum or double platinum or triple platinum or today's diamond platinum? Did that artist perform on American Bandstand or Soul Train or the Midnight Special or NBC Saturday Night Live or Solid Gold? Or did they have their music video aired on BET or MTV or VH1 or those local shows that aired in syndication? Or did that artist had their own prime time special, whether it's on CBS or NBC or ABC, or did they had it on PBS, whether it was Great Performances, or did they had that special during Pledge Month?
Okay.
Or Did they had their live concert special aired on HBO or Showtime? So, my friend, my colleague, Colleen, are you ready to take the challenge?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Already. We'll start at the bottom five. Who should be at number 10?
Okay, so my understanding of this was that it was these are just my all-time favorites, and mine might be pretty obvious, you know?
Okay.
Is that is that okay?
Yeah,
I have a
we'll
list of 10, but I kind of
okay.
rank. Okay. Do you want me to
Yes.
start?
Yes.
Um, so I would start it with, and I did mine more on time wise, but it was Erica Badu.
Yes, Erica Badu. She's known for its neo soul and everything. She came on the scene back in 1997 with her debut LP called Baduism, with
Yep.
her song called On and On, and her second top 10 hit, The Other Side of the Game. And she'll be best known for that live LP. Said, "You better make a call, Tyrone."
So
I
good.
was like, oh, she was known for that. Everybody knows that song so well. And she had some other songs, including Window Seat.
Love
And
that
when I
song.
saw that music video, I was like, are you doing a song called Window Seat or are you just stripping? And I didn't know what was that music video was all about. If you're saying window seat, you gotta do seat on the bus. Because
Yeah.
if I was doing that music video on, if I had my own summer show, I would do window seat and I would be on the bus
Yep.
and everything. So
Yeah.
then, like the end of the video, and the cop was saying like, "You're not giving up your seat," and
Hmm.
I said, "I've been off all day. Don't you think I can get a break?" And it said, "I'm sorry, sir, but the law is the law. So I'll be off with handcuffs and everything, but not me stripping and everything in front of everybody. That's not the music video that I would be of." And she made some acting debuts. She was in the movie The Blues Brothers 2000, aired in, premiered in movie theaters in 1998. So we'll put Erica Badu at number 10. Who should be at number 9?
Um, what about Missy Elliott?
Yes, Missy Elliott, representing Portsmouth, Virginia. She is a singer, songwriter, producer, and rapper, and one time the co founder of the group called Sister, but that didn't last that long. But she'll be best known for her music videos that don't make any sense, when best known for her special effects videos. And I'll give you one of them. She did a song called 1 Minute Man. You see half of her hair went poof
Yep.
out, and like special effects and everything. And she'll be best known for producing songs for other artists, including Aaliyah and Monica and Genuine and Timbaland and Magoo, just to name a few. So she'd be best known for that. And she got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I believe it was 2022 or 2023.
Hmm.
So she'll be best known for everything: producing, writing, singing, rapping, and doing all those visual effects music
Yes.
videos
And do you
that
know who she
didn't.
went to high school with?
Who?
Another amazing, incredible producer,
Who's that?
Pharrell. They went to high school together. Isn't that wild? Isn't
Oh,
that
oh
wild?
my,
They went to high school together. There, you got to watch his
oh,
movie, his Lego movie. It's so good,
oh,
and it
wow.
tells a story. His
Mm-mm.
story is amazing.
Ooh.
Okay, Missy Elliott. Okay, now next one. Ready?
Number 8.
Okay, number 8. A Tribe Called Quest.
Yes, A Tribe Called Quest, best known for its Afrocentric hip hop sound, coming out of Long Island, New York. When you had Q Tip and Ali Muhammad Shaheed
Yeah.
and the late Fife. They came on the scene back in 1990 with that song Bonita Applebum. That was my jam back then. And then by 1991, they had their new album called The Low End Theory. They had the song called Check the Rhyme, y'all. Check the
Mm-hmm.
Rhyme, y'all. Filmed that in on London Boulevard. I was like, oh, okay, that's my jam right there. They said back in the days on the Boulevard of London, we used to keep Frank Brothers, all that and everything. I was like, whoa, that was the jam right there. And other songs from that low end period. It's a scenario with special guests,
Mm-hmm.
uh, leaders of the new school that had Busta Rhymes.
Yep.
And I saw that video, and they had some cameo appearances by Spike Lee and Todd One. When we had MTV's Fade to Black and Fab Five Freddy of Your MTV Raps. I was like, yeah, that was the jam right there. I said, here we go, yo. Here we
Oh,
go, yo. So what? So what? So what's that scenario? I was like, yeah, like that one. So Job Call Quest had done some other hits back then and everything until Fife had passed away in 2016. So
mm,
rest in peace to Fife Dog, and we'll
Life
put a
Dog.
Tribe Called Quest at number 8, Afrocentric hip hop. Who should be at number 7?
Well, in good company with Tribe, Outcast.
Outcast, yes, representing the South. So you had Big Boy and Andre 3000 came on the scene back in the late 90s, and they'll be best remembered for their 2000 hit. It said, Sorry, Miss Jackson, but I
Yes.
am for
Yep.
real. Never make you melted on the cry. I apologize to them to mine. I was like, yo, I love that song, Miss Jackson. And that other song, they had a double album
Yeah,
called The
Speaker Box
Speaker
or The Love
Above, The
Below. Yeah.
Love Below.
Yeah.
So they would do like separate things. And that one from Andre said, Hey,
That
y'all,
was huge.
hey, y'all. I was like, oh. So that was the jam right there that I really like. So they represent the South and everything. So we'll put Outcast at number 7. Who should be at number 6?
What do you think about LL Cool J?
Yes, LL Cool J, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee for the class of 2021, came on the scene back in 1985. He was on the Def Jam label, which was distributed by CBS back then, and hip hop came on the mainstream. So
Yep.
when I first saw him on Soul Train, he made a song called "Oh, you know I can't live without my
On the
radio. I'm
radio.
gonna make you dance. I'm gonna make you prance, and I'll jump all around." I was like, that was his debut, Radio, and he had some other songs. I'm bad, and I saw
Oh,
that
that's so
music
good.
video. You see his bare chest and everything, and his only hip hop love ballad, "I Need Love."
Oh, so
And
good.
that was number 1 on Billboard's R&B Black Singles charts. I was like, what would be in hip hop be the first time you had a love ballad? And I
Hmm.
was like, no one never touched that. So that was the first one from 1987. And yes, known for his acting, we mentioned NCIS Los Angeles on CBS. He was on some other shows, including In the House, that was a comedy series on NBC, then later moved to UPN, now the CW. And he was in some other movies, including Any Given Sunday
Yep.
and Deep Blue Sea and The Hard Way, just to name a few. Everything. So everything he touches turns into gold. So we'll put LL Cool J at number 6. Who should be at number 5?
Okay, so I've mentioned many times, but Prince I have on my list. Yeah.
Ah, yes, Prince's Royal Badness came on the scene back in the late 70s with some of his hits, including Controversy, and then his other songs, including Do Me Baby. That wasn't a hit for Prince, but it became a hit for Melissa Morgan.
Yep.
And another song, Nothing Compares to You. That too wasn't a hit for him, but it became a hit for the late Sinead O'Connor. And another song, I Feel For You. That too wasn't a hit for Prince, but became a hit for Miss Shaka Khan.
Who's on my
So,
list too.
and not only that, he written songs for some other groups, including the Bangles,
Yeah.
number one hit, Manic Monday. And Prince had done it all. He would sing, he played music, he would play the electric piano,
He played
the
every instrument.
drums, every musical instrument. And when I saw him on the American Music Awards in 1984, was nominated for that soundtrack LP, Purple Rain, I was like, whoa, I would see him. And that was the same year, 1984, what we had. We got Michael Jackson, Prince, Michael
Hmm.
Jackson, Prince. Every radio station will be playing
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, Prince, Bruce Springsteen, Cyndi Lauper, Madonna, Tina Turner, all of that in one row piece. And he won an American Music Award for Best Soundtrack Album for that LP, Purple Rain.
Hmm.
It was a box office hit that grossed over $1 million at the box office back in the summer of 1984. He had some other ones, including Kiss. That was from his LP, Prince and the Revolution. I've seen the music videos, like he was doing that high pitched voice.
Yep.
And he had some other LPs, including Bat Dance from the movie Batman,
Yep.
and he was doing some other artists as well, including The Time, with Morris Day
Yeah.
and everything. So coming out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, he be wearing his purple all the time, best known for his splits and everything. And his influence was the late James Brown,
Yep.
and he got all of his splits and everything. And he had his own record label, Paisley Park, because I remember back then when he had a fight with Warner Brothers Records for creative control
Yep.
and not getting his masters.
Yep.
So Prince had done it all.
He knew.
So
He knew.
yes, got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the class of 2004. So rest in peace to the one and only Royal Badness, Prince, at
Yes.
number 5. Who should be at number 4?
Well, you referenced her, Shaka Khan.
Ah, yes, Shaka Khan came on the scene back in 1973 with the group Rufus, and they had some hits back then. But then by 1974, they had their LP called Rags to Rufus with 2 hits, including Tell Me Something
Something
Good.
good.
And that was written by Stevie Wonder, and the other one called You Got the Love, and that was written by Ray Parker Jr. So had some other hits, including Once You Get Started, Fool's Paradise, and their love ballad, Sweet Thing,
Oh,
which later
sweet.
became a remake for Mary J. Blige.
That's
And then Shaka Khan went on her own with her hits, including I'm Every Woman, Papillon, I Feel For You, so many other hits, just to name a few. So we'll put Shaka Khan at number 4. Who should be at number 3?
Okay. George Clinton and Funkadelic.
Ah, yes, George Clinton and Parliament
Oh, Parliament.
Funkadelic. They're best known for those outrageous everything. When I've seen their album covers, when I see the first LP Parliament called Mothership Connection, here goes George Clinton coming out of that spaceship. And best known for their funky tunes, including We Want the Funk,
Yes.
and then that other song that later sampled by Dr. Dre,
Yeah.
Every stop and let me ride.
Yeah.
And all those other tunes, including Flashlight and Not Just Knee Deep and his solo hit Atomic Dog.
Yes.
So he'll be best known for this Technicolor hair
Yeah.
and everything. So when I went to the Smithsonian's African American History Museum, there it was, that spaceship from George Clinton
Mothership
coming out
Connection,
of that.
baby.
Yeah. Yep, and everything. And most of his songs were later sampled or influenced by today's hip hop artists from the West Coast and everything like that. So we'll put George Clinton at number 3. Who should be at number 2?
Stevie.
Yes. The genius, the Wonder Man, Stevie Wonder, came on the scene in 1963 on Motown Records, made his first song called Fingertips, and he would play everything. He would play the bongos, the drums, and yes, the piano. He had a string of number one hits during the 60s. I mentioned Fingertips. He had other songs, including Uptight, For Once in My Life, My Sharia Moore. And then we got into the 70s with a song called Signed, Sealed, and Delivered. And also, he did the remake of the Beatles' We Can Work It Out.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kept on going because after the success of Marvin Gaye's What's Going On LP, he'd gotten into the social issues. He had his LP called Inner Visions, which includes the song Living for the City. And that dealt with systematic racism. And
Mm-hmm.
then another song that didn't become a hit was called Too High. And that song was dealing with drug addiction.
Yep.
And there was another top 10 hit called Higher Ground. So what we're seeing right now with people keep on happening.
Yep.
Yep.
Red Hot Chili Peppers covered it.
Yes.
Yep.
And Stevie Wonder kept on performing and everything. He won a Grammy Award, American Music Award. He won an Oscar for that song. I just call to say I love you. And got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the class of 1989 and a Kennedy Center honoree for the class of 1999. But he'll be best remembered for that album, Hotter Than July in 1980, with the song Master Blaster Jammin', that was in tribute to Bob Marley.
Mm-hmm.
And the other song that we be playing at the clubs, Happy Birthday
Yep.
to Ya. We be singing it in our birthday parties, and that was for in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And he dedicated that album in memory of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And he been
And he
going
pushed
to
to get the holiday
Congress,
recognized.
yes, to get the holiday. So when President Reagan signed that bill, it was official, but we had to wait until 1986 to become a national holiday. Now here's an FYI. A lot of black elected officials were happy, but some of the black elected officials wanted it to have it on his actual birthday, January the 15th. So we got what we got, third Monday of January, to make Dr. King Day a national holiday. So when it became in 1986, only one state that did not celebrate, and that was the state of Arizona.
I learned
So
that because I watched the Dave Chappelle stand-up special. I didn't know that John McCain voted against it. He
yeah,
mentioned it in his stand-up that I just watched last night on Netflix.
yes.
Yeah.
So we'll put the Wonder Man, Stevie Wonder, at number 2. All
Yeah.
right, who should be at number 1?
The Queen, Aretha Franklin. I know it's obvious,
Uh,
but she can't be denied.
yes. All right, the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, came on the scene in 1967 when she was on Atlantic Records with her number one hit, Respect, from her LP, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You. And that song, Respect, was written by the late Otis Redding, although it didn't become a hit for Otis, but it became a hit for Aretha. Number one on Billboard's Soul Singles charts, number one on Billboard's Pop 100 Pop Singles charts, and it will become a women's empowerment
Mm-hmm.
anthem.
Mm-hmm.
And had some other hits, including Chain of Fools, and then she did some remakes of Ben E. King's Spanish Harlem, and also did a remake of Ben E. King's Don't Play That Song, You Lied. And then she went to some other songs as well. She will be best known for those two gospel albums. One was Amazing Grace in 1972, and the other One Lord, One Faith, One Baptism in 1987. She have went through those genres. She did pop, she did soul, she did gospel, and she did jazz. And I didn't know that she did jazz because when she left Atlantic Records for Arista Records, Atlantic Records had some of those songs that were unreleased. And that LP was called Aretha's Jazz. And that was some unreleased songs because Aretha did some jazz tunes that we didn't know about. So that was unreleased. So Aretha had done it all. She was in the Blues Brothers 1980 and the sequel Blues Brothers 2000 and 1998. She was in the Snickers commercial with Liza Minnelli. And when I was watching the 1998 Grammy Awards on CBS at Radio City Music Hall, we would never believe the unthinkable. When I was watching, she was doing opera. So Luciano Pavarotti was supposed to perform, but then the producers had went to Aretha and said, "Can you do this?" And then Aretha said, "I'll give it a shot." So then when I was watching it, I was like, man, Aretha can do opera?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa, she got a standing ovation. And then so many of the singers were bursting into tears. I was like, Aretha can do that. Because I was watching VH1's 100 Greatest Moments of Rock and Roll that appeared on television.
Mm-hmm.
And then that clip, I believe it was like number 58 or 55, perform at the Grammy Awards.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, whoa, Aretha can do it
Yeah.
all those genres.
Yeah.
American Music Award winner, Grammy Award winner, got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the class of 1987 and a Kennedy Center honoree for the class of 1993. And yes, her father was a minister, the late Reverend C.L. Franklin. Aretha was born in Memphis, later raised in Detroit, and done it all. So we'll put the Queen of Soul, Miss Aretha Franklin, at number 1. So there we have our top 10 R&B, hip hop, and classic soul artists of all time.
Sam, I'm so
Well,
impressed. Your knowledge is just very impressive, and I don't know how you know it all, but you got it all in there. So crazy. I love it.
yeah, yeah, because like I said earlier, I always like to figure out who was our favorite artist
Mhm.
and what record label they were on.
Yep.
So when we go to the record store, we'll find out, do you have that song? And they will be on that record label. Because every time I look at Soul Train, when Don Cornelia says, here's another single, this is the latest on the Atlantic label entitled Chain of Foods, and her name is Aretha Franklin. So he would always say those record labels. Because as I said, as a consumer, we always like to find out what record label they were on
Yep.
and everything. So it's always been something. Well, Colleen, it's been a pleasure having you on the Black Soul Music Experience. Thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for saying yes, because I always like to keep in touch with CBS folks who've been there, whether it's 5, 10, 20 years. And I can tell you, I've been there for 35 years. How do I know? I still got my buyout package.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 2019. And then I was in the office with Hallahan and saying, CBS wants you to take the buyout. I said, I ain't taking the buyout. I want to celebrate my 30 years. I want to go to that awards dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get that award. That was my birthday gift.
Mm-hmm.
And I owe that to my maternal cousin, Ernest, because that was for him. So I always say, thank God for my maternal cousin, Ernest Bowles, because had it not been for him, I would not see Hal Walker or Russ Mitchell or Carol Martin or J.J. Gonzalez or Lester Holt or Charles Thomas or George Strait, Carol Simpson, Bill McCreary, Dana Tyler, Reggie Harris, Dave Sims, who did the sports, and yes, Tony Sadiq doing the weather, Janice Huff, and yes, Gil Noble, Melba Tolliver, Marion Etoile Watson, Frank Casey, Sheila Steinbeck, and Charmaine Hunter, Gold, Don Lemon, Frederica Whitfield, Katie Tong, and Brenda Blackman, just to name a few, and Connie Chung too. You know, those were people of color that looked like me
Mm-hmm.
to report the news, sports, weather, and we don't want to leave out Kevin Frazier, Entertainment Tonight, and Michelle Turner doing
Mm-hmm.
the entertainment news. And as I mentioned, news that affects the black and brown community. So that was the CBS that I knew and to other of our colleagues. So that was my cousin Ernest.
Yeah.
He was the first one to be the first black at CBS. And I never asked him if he received any, hate mail because he was the first person to be in charge in news film syndication. But I know in my heart that I knew that when people of color, they don't want you to succeed. So it was a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that I would see every day on my TV screen, whether I see someone in comedy, drama, or specials, or reporting the news, or doing sports, or seeing somebody out there on the field. Because my late maternal grandparents, they were Met fans.
Hmm.
But before they were Met fans, they were Brooklyn Dodgers fans. But there was something that my late mother have shared with me. It's saying like this: they will not watch any sports team, whether it's baseball, basketball, or football, unless you have someone of color on that field. So still up to this date, I haven't forgotten what my
Mm-hmm.
mom said. And when you see people of us of color, and yes, we see other nationalities
Mm-hmm.
for our Asian brothers and sisters, or Latino brothers and sisters, and also from the Caribbean community and from the LGBTQ community, the Native American community, and people with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
I would never knew that that young lady in that wheelchair win a Tony Award.
Mm-hmm.
And someone said, if she can do it, so can someone else.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's what we see. And that's
Yep.
what something that I would like to see in my lifetime. If I was doing a situation comedy based on my life growing up, I would have someone will play me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would do everything. I have a diversity of writers, a diversity of directors and producers. So that was something that, I wish I was doing.
Yeah.
But since I participated in the People Development Program now, I'm picking up where the late Frankie Crocker and Felix Hernandez and Dick Clark and Don Cornelius and Casey Kasem left off. And we don't want to leave out Hee Haw. That was aired on CBS as well before it went into its syndication. So I just want to give a shout out to all of those. So
Yeah.
again,
That's
thank you,
great.
Colleen. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Sam, for having me.
Yes, and continued success on your podcast. I'm going to be watching some more of those episodes, and I'll get a chance to read that Substack too, because I've been seeing those Substack videos on YouTube with Katie Couric
Mm-hmm.
and Jim Acosta. They're doing theirs too. So now they have a voice
Yep.
to speak the truth. And that's what freedom of the press is all about. It's under the First Amendment.
Amendment. Yes, yes, yes. All right,
Thank
Sam,
you.
thank you so much. You be well. I will be watching the pod, and I will be listening to the Black Soul Music Experience season 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, however long you want to keep doing it.
Yes. Now, before we go, give us a quick plug on your podcast so that they can follow you too.
Sure. So you can find Content Chaos with George and Carl. We're available on Apple Podcasts. And if you want to see a video version of it, as of now, we're just posting it on Spotify. And we're not putting them on YouTube. It's another step, and maybe I'll start doing that at some point. But for now, we're just doing Apple and Spotify.
Yeah, it takes a lot of baby steps, but when they see the both of us, when they see us giving us a fresh word and bringing us the truth, whether it's in news
Mm-hmm.
or sports and music, we're picking up where the legends left
Yeah.
off.
Carrying
This is
the
for
torch.
Walter Cronkite and the John Chancellors and the Max Robinsons of the world.
Yep.
And I know they wanted to see us continue with that
Mm-hmm.
truth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Download all the artists that we have talked about on this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Visit iTunes.com, Spotify.com, or purchase a CD at Amazon.com. Make sure you follow my friend and colleague, Miss Colleen Kenny. She and her husband, George, are the creators and the hosts of the Content Chaos Podcast, a weekly podcast that deals with conversations for an unperfect world that we are living in. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to check out this episode, please subscribe to the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Look for me on these 5 platforms. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Pocket Cast. And the link is riverside.fm/studio/Samuel-Wilson Jr.'s. Don't forget to add the S at the end, -studio, and I will be posting this episode on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And if you have a hard time getting on to Riverside, then please become a member and subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Got a computer? Get your email address and your password and go to the Patreon homepage where you see all of the Patreon shows by different creators. Go to the search box and type in the Black Soul Music Experience podcast, where you can check out all of my audio and video podcast episodes from season 4 and for this season, season 5, and check out all of the video podcast clips that you may have missed. And if you have a hard time getting on to Patreon, then I'll be posting this episode on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. All you need to do is go to the YouTube homepage, type in the Black Soul Music Experience podcast, and check out this episode. If you like this episode, if you love my podcast, please subscribe, please support, please give me a thumbs up, please leave a comment, and please pass it on. Thank you for joining me as I close out this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience.
Well, that's about it for this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. I'm Sam Wilson Jr. Thank you for joining me, and please tune in next week for an all-new episode. The Black Soul Music Experience podcast is sponsored by the support of listeners and viewers like you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Look for my podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Pocket Cast. And don't forget the link. The link is riverside.fm/studio/Samuel-Wilson Jr.'s-studio. And don't forget to check out my audio and video podcast episodes by becoming a member and subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. And please check out my video podcast episodes by subscribing to youtube.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. And please leave your comments, feedbacks, and replies by going to my Facebook homepage. Go to facebook.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. You can also tweet me on X, aka Twitter, at Sam Wilson Jr. 66. And follow me on Instagram at SAMM.Y2980. As always, partying, remember this. Reach for the top and your dreams will come true, and it can happen to you. From all of us, take care. God bless. Thanks for listening. Have a good week, and please be safe.